All right, guys, we're going to start the second half of the special episode with Julien from Believe Supplements in Canada. Now, Julien, I think people really need to hear the story of how Believe started, right? Because, I mean, you had a reason for, people don't know this, right? He manufactures his own products up in Canada. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason that you started manufacturing your own products. And I would love for you to share your story.
Well, it started back in the days. So I had an opportunity with supplement brand I was athlete for to launch my own SKUs, and I sold these SKUs for a couple months, and everything was good. And
are we allowed to know the name of the brand?
No.
Okay.
So batch after batch, everything changed all the time, like the powder colors, like the texture, all the powder reacts in the water. So I kind of figured out they were cheating my products without telling me. So I quit the industry for like a good 3 days in my head. And then I was like, I have to come back, and this is going to be my mission, to launch the most transparent brand in the world. And that's what I've done so far with Believe.
It's not an uncommon story, right?
I know. I heard your story. It's pretty similar.
Very common story to have those challenges in the beginning. So is that somewhere where the Believe name came from? Tell us a little bit about how the brand name came about for you.
Definitely came from the story, because I believe in a better industry. I believe in a transparent industry, and that's why we do publicly third-party testing. I'm coming up with the vlogs. I want to show you everything. I want to show every single thing. I've met with so many manufacturers. You cannot even take a photo in their lab. They don't want you to do it. And I'm going to vlog in my own lab, you know? That's how transparent I want things to be. Because I think the customer is the biggest loser when everybody just do their own shady things. So I want to bring light to the industry, and the customer is going to win big time.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
So let's talk about publicly visible third-party testing. So how are you sharing that information with your customers?
So right now I have a manufacturer that does a portion of my product. So whenever I have a finished good, I send it to a third-party lab. I pay for the analysis. This is not something that is required by Health Canada. This is something I decide to do on my own. I pay for, and then when I have the results, I post it online for every lot number, every flavor, every product.
And what are you testing for?
Every ingredient on the label,
except
for the non-medicinal ingredient like sucralose or stevia, things like that. So let's say my BCAA, I will test the L-carnosine, the leucine, etc., everything. Pump addicts, same thing, citrulline, caffeine. We go through every ingredient.
And how easy is it to find this information, like on your website?
It's very easy. There's a link, analyze yours. You click, and there's a form. You just pick your product, pick your lot number, pick the flavor. Super easy.
Wow, that's interesting.
Super user-friendly.
Yeah, I mean, I think even Amazon tried to do this not too long ago when they launched their product line for, it was like vitamin B12 and vitamin D and so on and so forth. But I think people were struggling to do this because their manufacturers weren't giving them consistent information, or their raw providers weren't being consistent for the manufacturers, at least for what Amazon was using, from what I know in the industry, insiders.
So that's why you have to analyze the finished good.
Okay. And do you post anything about the raw ingredients or where you guys are getting them from?
No, I'm just posting about the end result. But if someone want an analysis or something, I can get to them, no worries.
Yeah, but having a finished product tested at the level that you're talking about is pretty unique, and should give the customer a really good feeling when they click on that link or QR code or whatever it is that takes them to that C of A to know, hey, this is the product I'm buying, and here's a third-party lab that tested every ingredient in here that matters to me. So that's pretty healthy for them.
And is it the same lab every time?
No, sometimes I change.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think this is why our customer retention is so strong in Canada. Because let's say you order from Believe online, you get your analysis on paper, because we ship with them. Or you can go online.
It's in the actual order when you open the box?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's basically someone full-time just printing analysis and shipping with order. But, okay, let's say you order from Believe, get your order, and then next month you want to try a different brand. They send you products, but you have no analysis. Right there, you're going to start asking a question, you know? And then you go back to Believe because you trust it. And one thing is funny, I don't think people realize how easy it would be to cheat any product in the industry. Let's say a pre-workout. What are the ingredients you fill in a pre-workout? Pretty much only the stimulants, right? So let's say I put whatever ingredients, citrulline, betaline, everything on my supplement facts. If I put maltodextrin with stimulants, you're not going to see the difference, really.
Yeah, I mean that's why we have a lot of garage manufacturers out there that can't get through FDA audits or get their NSF certificates or anything like that, because when they come in, they go through the paperwork and process of that, and those things get identified most of the time, right? And then you'll find these 483s online, and or brand owners like yourself will start testing product if you're using a manufacturer, and you're be able to see really quickly like what was put into this product, right? Because nobody's in the blend room or the fill room when these manufacturers are making the product.
Exactly.
So you have to have a trustworthy manufacturer, and you have to have the testing to support that. Just trust but verify, as a lot of people say.
Stop the presses. What is maltodextrin?
A carbohydrate.
Yeah.
I
A cheap
think
carbohydrate.
fake
Yeah.
carbohydrate.
Okay. So wait, you're telling me that I could take a tub of malto, which is just carbs and like essentially crap, right? And throw some flavoring in it and call it a pre-workout?
Some caffeine.
Well,
caffeine?
I mean, not legally.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Not
it's not
legally.
legal. No,
Yeah,
no.
not legally. You
What
can't
would
do
be
that.
is there like a legal requirement for it to be a pre-workout?
That's a great technical question as far as which ingredients would consider a pre-workout. I don't know if there's a technical definition of, I mean, you could probably put caffeine in a product with a few other ingredients and call it a pre-workout, right?
So I'm guessing malto's cheaper than the other stuff?
Yeah, malto.
just
I mean,
carbs.
there's a lot of, there was the whole protein spiking that happened years ago, right? When people were using things like glycine and taurine.
Oh, this is the thing Muscle Farm got in trouble for.
I don't know if they specifically, so I don't want to say yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I remember
they
reading that article.
publicly
Yeah,
got
publicly.
Yeah,
got
You're
okay,
not
in
yeah, I
trouble.
wasn't
We could talk
sure.
about
there
that.
was there was a number of brands that got in trouble for it, right? But a lot of them were working in conjunction with their manufacturer, and some weren't. Some didn't know that manufacturer was doing that,
Sure.
right? They were testing the nitrogen as it relates to how much protein is in there, and these amino acids that are really cheap, like taurine and glycine, they were adding to the product, so the product would test that it had the right amount of protein in it, but the customer was the one getting screwed.
So what do we think is happening more? Is the manufacturer trying to nickel and dime their client or the brand and lying about what they're putting in the product, and the brand's not checking it? Or is the brand trying to nickel and dime the customer by coming up with an opportunity for more margin with a lower COGS?
Well, I've seen it. I've seen it change over 10 years, right? I think when we first started, I think brand owners were not aware of how manufacturers were making more margin and cheating the brand owner and the end consumer, right? Then when you started seeing things like the amino spiking, brand owners, I believe, and this is just my opinion, they started getting wise to what was going on. So they started looking into it, but they didn't know how to correct it, right? So it was almost like they turned a blind eye because they were like panicking, how do I fix this if my manufacturer is not giving me the right product? Then when you started seeing the lawsuits happen and everything, I feel like for the most part, brand owners have been putting their foot down, right? And that's cleaned up the manufacturing side of things with a lot of manufacturers. You're always going to have your fly-by-night manufacturers, your garage shops that can't get any certifications and are doing things wrong. But that's why the proper vetting process. So I watched that whole thing transpire over a decade, right? From brand owners not knowing to brand owners knowing to not knowing how to fix it to now they know how to fix it and they know how to vet and work with reputable manufacturers. That's my opinion.
Okay, so I'm a brand owner. How do I find a lab to test my product? What do I Google?
Well, that's
Go ahead.
a good question. As a manufacturer, I had all the contacts, but I don't know. You just send me an email, Julien Billy Supplements. I'm going to give you all the contacts I have. I want you to test your product. Like, my dream is that this would be a requirement from the FDA and L Canada. Like, I don't know. I just want every brand to do the same as we do. So,
Well, I mean, let's actually simplify this, because I know there's a lot of brand owners that watch this podcast.
Yeah.
But let's say they've never tested their products, not once. What do they Google to go find a lab to do this?
I think the best thing to do is ask their manufacturer first and foremost, which third-party labs are you using to test your products, right? Because we're testing raw materials as they come in. We're also testing finished product as it goes out, and you're not just using one lab, right? You're using verified labs by your quality department, and we're using, typically I think we have about three verified labs on rotation, and for us, any customer that calls us and says which labs are you using, we share that information with them.
And our lab, the labs that we use here at SDC, they're all domestic?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and are your labs in Canada?
Yeah, around Montreal, yeah.
And they're all just all over the
There's a
world,
lot of labs.
essentially.
Yeah, there's
Right.
a lot of third-party labs. It's just a matter of going and vetting them, and getting references, running a test with a particular lab, and then sending that same batch to another lab to make sure you're getting the same result. And if you're not, then you got to figure out which lab's not providing the proper result.
So brands need to know this, right? So they need to test individual batches, right? Because they could all be different. And they then need to have an understanding of what they're testing for, because you could be testing for like protein count, right? You could be testing for metals. You could be testing for microbials. You could be testing for, all sorts of stuff, right? It'd be a scary thing to test a multi, right? Because there's just so many ingredients that you're making label claim for.
Yeah.
But for something like a protein, it's probably the easiest thing for someone to lie on, right? I know we have a couple people that called us saying, hey, we're looking at making this collagen, and they told me the price for the collagen. I'm like, I don't know if that's a real product. If you're really getting
Happens
it at
all
that
the time.
price. Like, you're doing a 1 pound collagen for like $4. I'm like, I don't know if there's collagen in this product.
Not happening.
We should probably go get this tested.
But you talk about the multivitamin, how expensive it is. That's the reason why we don't have a multivitamins after 3 years. I think just testing the finished good is about $2,500 per lot. So
Depending on how many
lot.
ingredients, right?
I test every ingredient. When
Yeah.
a protein come in, I do an amino profile. I don't do a nitrogen balance. We do a full amino profile. And even as a brand owner, when you think about it, when you receive a finished good and you put it in the market, don't you want to know what's in it?
You should absolutely want to
Like,
know what's in it. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you want to know what you sell to the customers?
And you should be testing it before you release it to commerce, right? And so you guys are doing things that you should be doing, but it's also unique because not a lot of people are doing it.
And it was
which
scary
is why you're doing well.
when we were very small, because these tests are expensive, testing your BCA, every lot, we were a small company. I was paying for the lab out of my pockets, the lab analysis. Now that we're big, that's the vision we had from the get-go, but it's an expensive process for sure. That's why brands don't do it. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
Luckily for us in Canada, if a brand get caught now for cheating a product, it goes back to the manufacturer. So both the manufacturer and the brand are now responsible if something happens.
I think it's the same here.
Look, everyone's liable at that point, right?
Yeah.
That's why us as a manufacturer, we need to have our ducks in a row and our quality systems in place, from testing the raw materials coming in for identity and efficacy and all that stuff. So, yeah, every manufacturer should want to know what's being released to the brand owner. And we work with brand owners that, we test things that we have to test for, like heavy metals and microbials and things that could be dangerous to the consumer, and then work with the brand owner to take it a step further on how much testing of the efficacy of the different raw materials that they want to have as well.
Okay. I'm going to make this a little bit easier for the people at home listening. We're going to talk about something lighter.
Okay.
All right. So we heard where you guys kind of started from. Interestingly enough, someone was saying that they were giving you something and they weren't, right? And eventually you're like, things could just be better, right? And you guys had the audacity to try, and you guys are clearly doing great for doing that, right? And in the 3 years you've been doing this yourself, in the 10 plus years that you've been doing this yourself, where is the industry going next, right? In Canada, are we seeing keto? Are we seeing CBD? Are we seeing plant-based? Sean, we talk about this regularly, right?
Yeah.
And as manufacturers, domestically, we see what people are ordering, and we kind of know where the industry is going. But I'd love to hear your perspective.
Keto has been very strong in the last 2 years in Canada. I think it's going down a bit right now, to be honest. I think the next big thing is vegan.
Vegan.
I think vegan
plant-based.
is the next big thing.
Okay. We have an MPN for that, right?
What's that?
Yeah, okay. So are you seeing that in like the protein area? Are you seeing that in like the plant-based BCAAs? Where are you seeing it most?
I would say mostly protein.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think BCAAs matter much right now. I think people are more focused on the protein powders.
Does Believe have a vegan?
I'm working on it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to do the same concept, unflavored?
Yeah, same thing.
Are you going to do pea, hemp? Like, what are you thinking?
We're testing right now a mix of mung bean protein, some pumpkin seeds, and some pea protein for cost efficiency.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're going to do the flavor packs so that people kind of make what kind of flavors they want.
Same thing. But since vegan is very hard to sweeten, what we're going to do is sell a 2-pound unflavored with a 75 serving flavor pack. So you can go harder on the flavor.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So how do you do supplement fact panels for that scenario, right? Because like, are you saying for like 1 scoop of flavor, it's this? And then, if you like put 10 scoops in it because you really just want the flavor to be perfect, you're essentially just multiplying it by 10?
Yeah, these are 2 separate products. So you have to do the math yourself.
Oh, man. This guy's a genius.
And I'm sure it's just 1 or 2 scoops if you start going above.
Oh, yeah. Even
2
for,
scoops, yeah.
you've tested the way with us yesterday. It's, the taste is very strong. So I use half a scoop of chocolate in my protein and it works. So
yeah.
I just want a whole scoop of Yohimbi from now on to put into all of my
I think you got one yesterday.
I'm pretty sure I did too. Okay, so we were talking about Yohimbi a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So because you're moving into the American market, are you able to enhance some of your formulas now with some stuff that's just like copacetic here, but not necessarily in Canada?
It's crazy. I love the U.S., man. Like you can do whatever with the products. Yesterday I tried the burner. It's definitely my US burner, I'm never going to use it. It's way too strong for me, but I'm very sensitive to stimulants. But yeah, there's a big difference between both US and Canada regulations for the ingredients. So you guys can go and have stronger products.
That's really exciting, man. I mean, it seems like Believe is about to enter a whole different market, right? Which is vastly larger than what you've experienced before. And I mean, as a United States customer, if I got a package and it had like testing information in it, I wouldn't know how to react. At first, I'd be like, wait a second, I think they sent me information they weren't supposed to. Like, am I supposed to have this? I'd like hit up their customer support. I'd be like, I think someone accidentally put the records in my shipment. Like, you guys need to send this back somewhere. And then 2, I mean, I know you with your customer retention have a lot of follow-ups that you do with your customers too, right? So, I mean, are you expanding your team to handle the American market? Are you hiring people from America to handle customer service? Is there someone with like a Canadian accent that's going to be answering my calls when I call in?
Man, I don't know if I can expose my marketing strategies, but
like, tell us everything.
Okay. I'd like to have someone full-time that coaches my clients. So whenever you order from Believe, someone just call you or send you an email like, hey, do you have any question about nutrition training? Here's some free training. And, I have personal coach for, maybe 50 to 100 clients per coach, something like that.
Devaney.
But the cultures aren't all that different to where if your customer service is U.S. or Canadian based.
No, I would use it for all the platforms, obviously.
Yeah,
but this is my next move, marketing-wise. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what about flavor systems? I know we spoke about it for a second, where some flavors in Canada are just different than what it is here.
It is, yeah.
But are you going to take this opportunity to create some new flavor choices for the customer base?
I will, yeah. The flavor we're going to launch in the U.S. are going to be different. I think you guys work with very good flavor housing. I mean, I was impressed by how good your R&D are. And
go on. Keep
you guys are very good. I talked about it in the last podcast, and this is not a smoke show. You guys know what you're doing. There's a reason why you are NSF registered, and I can see it here when I come. So definitely going to work with you guys, and hopefully you're going to give me my flavor codes in the context you have so I can use the flavors in Canada too.
Yeah, we actually had a conversation about, we had a podcast about, a whole podcast about flavor codes and customers and manufacturers and how to work together to make sure everybody feels comfortable. So we definitely have solutions for that.
Yeah, we have the contract ready for you. We're going to sign in blood. And then you can have whatever you want.
Good.
No, you just have to take a shot of Yohimbi before signing anything. That's going to be like the new requirement here. Okay, so last question for this episode. Do you feel like your Canadian customers are going to be upset with anything that's going to be different in America and vice versa?
I made some stories yesterday while I was doing something with you guys. I probably had 32 DMs of people and retailers saying, are we going to have access to your U.S. formulas and flavors? I was like, shit, I have to figure this out.
Yeah, but they saw you reacting to the Yohimbi. I'm sure they were just like, we need this.
So, I don't know. We'll see. Probably not.
Well, I think like we talked yesterday too, you'll start as you continue to do all the marketing that you're so great at. You'll continue to get those international customers reaching out to you outside of Canada and the U.S. as well, right? And they're going to have kind of choice between if they want Canadian or U.S. formulas, which gives a little bit of variety for them, and we can support you with all the paperwork you need for that.
Yeah,
as
I think
well.
they'll get the U.S. versions. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Sweet, man. I mean, dude, thanks for coming out to Pittsburgh. I know this is a tropical vacation for you.
Yeah, weather's good.
So, man. I mean, you're welcome.
You look a little more tan than you did when you got here.
And I hope you have a safe flight back. And I can't wait to update people on everything that you're doing.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the tour, for the sampling, everything. I think we're going to do good business together. And like I said on the previous podcast, every brand owner, I really recommend you come to SDC. And Sean, we can work on this discount later if you get some leads from this podcast.
We appreciate the opportunity, and there's nothing more that I like doing than paying commissions.
And that's a wrap.
All right, perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.